Welcome back, everybody. This is your NFL three-man booth. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. Week 4 of the NFL season. Oh, it's been a long season for us Jets and Giants fans already. Similar to last year, unfortunately. Our ATS picks are about average. Phil, Bud had a much better week than I did. So we're going to start with your guys' picks. Maybe you don't want to listen to me. I'll be the tail end of the picks this week. I put up a goose egg, but you guys got some solid wins betting against some real losers.
Phil, you want to go first or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I am 1 week away in Connecticut from finally doing this on my own, which is
You
pretty
hope.
to go.
You were 75% on your picks last week. That's pretty good.
So we were talking early and looking at some bad teams, picking against them. And listen, I'm gonna lay the 16.5 against the one. Buffalo just put up a 40 burger on Houston, and two, Houston's trotting out a backup quarterback that had his first start, and he looked every bit like a whatever string quarterback he is, second, third, fourth.
Played better than Zach Wilson.
And
And
the rookie
give me Buffalo.
Rookie quarterbacks are 1-10 this season. It's a good pick.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no reason that that Houston can hang with Buffalo right now. 16.5 is a huge number. That's going to be covered by the middle of the first quarter, I think. And then my next one is it's going to be Green Bay -7 against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just they look disinterested. Did you see the one play where Ben threw the ball and literally fell on the ground?
He backed up and just fell over.
I
was about to say
the Packers are rolling. That first game, or the first week, was obviously the exception, not the rule. Aaron Rodgers is almost is in midseason form. Devontae Adams gets knocked in the back of the head and is back one play later, so he's a tough guy. Give me the Packers -7.
But you were undefeated last week, and you picked against the
Was
Jets.
I?
You were.
I mean, what a shocker. I mean, pick against the Jets. Guess what? I'm doing it again this week. I will lay the 8 points because Tennessee and Derrick Henry are going to annihilate the Jets defense, who apparently can't stop the run. The Jets can't run the football. They can't pass the football. I'm sure we'll get into this later, but they look, I mean, dare I say they look worse than they were last year under Adam Gase's tutelage. I mean, it's absolutely embarrassing. So I from this point on, I'm gonna go against every Jet score, regardless of the spread. It's embarrassing to be a Jets fan, so much so that you have to laugh.
This line's pretty low, so it's definitely a good one to crack.
Yeah, I'm taking Tennessee -8 points currently. And I'm going to take Tampa Bay 7-point favorites over New England. I think Tom Brady is going to go to Foxborough and just showcase the hell out of what he can do. He played well against the Rams. The Rams are just a great football team. The Rams I have winning the Super Bowl this year. I think Tampa Bay is just going to roll all over New England. New England cannot score points right now.
I don't feel good about saying this, but I'm going to pick with the Giants. They are getting 7.5 points against New Orleans. The Giants have lost all of their games very close, like very close, just by a couple of points. I'm not overly impressed by the Saints. I think that they're a better football team, and their Giants are getting over a touchdown. So I'm going to take the 7.5 points with the Giants. I like to take points. That one jumps out at me as two teams that are much more even than the spread.
They seem to do a lot better when they're the underdogs rather than the favorite. But
yeah, I mean,
who are the referees that game? Because if you ask Phil, I mean, the referees absolutely screwed the Giants last week.
I'm not gonna. All right, I'll wait till Dan's second.
Hold on. So I got screwed picking against Cleveland last week. So I'm picking with the Browns this week. I only have to give up 1.5 against Minnesota. Cleveland's a much better team than the Vikings. I mean, their defense has been a little up and down. Minnesota, yeah, they're coming off a win. I don't think they're a good team. I think that they are like coming together. Cleveland
is playing really, really well, though.
I know, but I think the Browns can win by a field goal. I only have to give up 1.5. So I'm feeling okay about that. And those are our ATS picks for week 4. We can go right into the Giants because they keep losing by points and extra plays and last-second field goals, and they just can't buy a win. They're 0-3 again. A good 0-3 as compared to the Jets, who are a bad 0-3.
As good as the vibes were after week 2, about halfway through that game at Atlanta, it was 7-6 at halftime.
I know.
I mean, almost like another painful watch. And as I was venting before, I'm not going to blame the refs and screw the Giants. No, that's not going to do it. But it felt like
Really? That's what you said to me on Sunday.
I know I was more venting than anything, but
Okay.
honestly, for it felt like every time there was some big play, offensively or defensively, let's throw the flag every single time. No momentum whatsoever. It was very frustrating. Long runs called back, sacks on the quarterback, offsides, whatever. Illegal men downfield on the screen, call it back. It was just, it felt like every time there was a big play, it just got called back and there was just no flow to the game.
Phil, can I both agree and disagree with you? Because I do think the officiating has been really schizophrenic this season, especially those taunting penalties and illegal hit penalties. They're so unpredictable whether they get called or not. That being said, some of what you just said reminds me of an undisciplined team. And it's unfortunate, but it sounds like
of course.
Giants are a bit undisciplined, and it's hard to win when you make those type of penalties.
Yeah, obviously the highlight of the weekend was watching Eli go get his number retired, and we were talking before. Eli got cheered like I've never witnessed before. 80,000 people cheering for one guy, and then Mara comes on and just boos everybody. Speaking of booing, Evan Ingram needs to go. You want to talk about? I talk about the refs. Evan Ingram screwed us again by dropping a pass over the middle of the field late in the fourth quarter, which would have set us up for a field goal. Evan Ingram. Every time he came off the field, the whole stadium was cheering. I mean, Evan Ingram just screwed us again.
That's me playing a violin because the Jets dropped a ton of passes on Sunday.
Oh my God!
I have an interesting stat for you when we discuss the Jets.
Okay.
Man.
So Phil, I'm really torn up here about the Giants because their defense did pretty well. They held the Falcons in check, right?
Yes.
Because Falcons scored a lot of points the week before, and now they didn't. So the Giants did something well, but then their offense stunk up the field. So they can't get two good games. Like the week before, they had a good offensive game and a bad defensive game. This week they get a good defensive game and a bad offensive game.
They also lost Shepard and Slade.
Yeah, I know.
So that didn't help. That doesn't help. But
so I'm going to throw this question away from you and towards Bud. This is September football. It's preseason-y because of the shortened off season, the less preseason games. Like we always throw out week one. We often can throw out all of September now, right? Because some teams do legitimately turn it around, but starting 0-3 is tough. Phil, but are you buying the Giants as a pretty good football team, or you just think that they're going to be whatever this thing is, 6-10, 6-11?
I think they have major issues. Their defense does not seem to be nearly as good as it was last year. Their offensive scheme with Saquon does not seem to be clicking, even to his own accord. After the game, he said some of the players don't believe in the scheme, which is, I guess, a negative towards
Jason Garret.
Jason Garret. Yeah, thank you. That's not a good sign. I think that as a Giants fan, and I'm not a Giants fan, Phil, you can attest to this. We all walked into the season thinking, all right, well, Washington's going to be so. The Eagles are going to be terrible, and it's really going to come down to two teams. It's going to be the Cowboys or the Giants, right? And the way that the Cowboys are playing right now offensively is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah,
they're not great. They're not great defensively, but they put up a ton of points, and that is all because Dak is who he is.
Yeah.
The Giants, on the other hand, have lost two close games. Both games, their defense probably should have come through and made some plays, which they cannot do. Barkley seems to, for whatever reason, he runs out of bounds or doesn't want to get hit. I mean, when there's obvious more yardage that can be taken.
We noticed a lot of dancing. We noticed a lot of dancing when he gets the ball, before he hits the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of dancing. Just run straight.
Well,
I agree with you, and I think that's a huge difference from his first 2 years. His first 2 years, he was looking for contact, getting yards. Now he's avoiding it. Because of that, he's not gaining the yardage that he wants to. And, I hate to continue to harp on this. When is Daniel Jones going to actually show us something? This was a really bad Atlanta Falcons football team, and they did nothing offensively against them. I mean, to put up 14 points, whatever they scored on Sunday, home crowd, Eli Manning day, you came out and laid a stinker. And you could just feel the weight in the whole stadium. I mean, Phil, you were there. It never felt like it was going to be enjoyable.
I'll be honest, the entire Daniel Jones era has been not enjoyable football. Like they win games, but they're not enjoyable wins because they're not.
And you know what's funny? So my friend and I that I went with, we made the comment to each other as we're watching the Eli ceremony. We said, all these people that are cheering are the same assholes that were trying to run Eli out of town 2 years ago.
Be grateful that you actually had him for 16 years, because look what happens when someone like him's not here. Man, look at these phonies around.
So if the season ended today, the Giants would have 2 top 10 picks because they have.
That Bears pick.
So
that Bears pick's going to be a top pick.
So the Bears pick is going to be really good for the Giants, but the Giants could have a really good pick of their own depending on how the season plays out. Now I know you don't want that. I mean, it's too early, Phil. I mean, we get an extra game, and this team isn't losing by a lot.
Early.
So it's way too early for them because they've had close losses. But at the same time, 2 top 10 picks really helps your team next season, obviously. Now, this is how the Jets fan thinking about next year already, obviously, too.
That's, by the way, that's sad.
Well, the Jets got the Seattle pick, and it's a pretty good one. The Eagles have 3 picks in the top 15 right now, 2 in the top 10 because they get Miami's, I think, and they get somebody else's too. They got 3 of them.
They get Indianapolis's as long as Carson Wentz plays 75% of the offensive snaps.
Indianapolis looks terrible.
There are 3 teams in that same division that could legitimately get the number 1 pick. Like
100%. Jacksonville, Houston, and Indianapolis look god awful right now. Listen, I told both of you last week that whatever the spread was in that game was
a lock. That was easy. That was the easiest bet I ever made.
So Bud, I got to watch the game. It was not
sorry.
Yeah, no, I know. You said before the show that this Jets team looks worse than last season. They absolutely look worse than last season. I'm currently chalking it up to the number of rookies and inexperienced players on this team, and the fact that this coaching staff is trying to figure out how to use these pieces. Some of them are good, some of them aren't good. They're just slotted in.
Where is Denzel Mims? You mean to tell me that Denzel Mims is not good enough to even play anywhere on the field?
Is this? I don't know if this is the stat you were going to point at. He was on the field for he has one positive play this season. It's the longest
like 34 yards.
It was 40 yards, and it's the longest play from scrimmage the Jets have had all year. The single play Mims
and he's been benched the last 2 games. No, the stat that I was going to bring up was Zach Wilson's completion percentage is like 50%, 52% or something like that.
Yeah.
If you calculate all of the drops, and there are legitimate drops.
I think it's 11 or 12%.
There must have been 6 passes on Sunday that it hit the receivers or running backs' hands, literally the hands.
I know.
And they dropped them. His completion percentage would be over 73%, which would put him in the top 5 in the league.
So you have that, plus the fact that he has the shortest amount of time to throw in the league, like 1.7 seconds, something crazy. He actually had a pretty good game.
Their offensive line is terrible. We talked about this last week.
I know.
This kid will not be able to compete when he's getting sacked 6, 7, 8 times a game. You have no veteran backup. You have nobody on the sideline who can pull him aside and say, listen, I know this is not great, but look here instead of looking there. They went in with this saying, we're willing to lose every single game because at this point, this team looks like they could lose every single game. Because Jacksonville is terrible, and I tell you this from a fact. The game that they have to play them the day after Christmas, Jacksonville can win because Jacksonville at least can move the football.
You know what's going to be hilarious? Neither team is going to want to win that game because they want a better pick.
I'm fully aware that we are rebuilding again, like for the last 20 years, okay?
50.
Yes.
I just don't think they told Wilson this plan.
I fully understand what's happening here. We went into this year thinking about progress. We went into this year thinking about discipline. The amount of penalties that are called on this football team on a weekly basis is nauseating. The only 3 points that they were going to score got called back because of the delay of game. On special teams, how is that even possible?
I know, man.
None.
I watched it.
You are the most optimistic Jets fan that I know.
No,
and I can see it in your face that you are miserable like me.
I can't watch this team play. It's really pathetic. It's really bad football. I would be okay if the offensive line was actually pretty good, because that was
They're
supposed to be Joe Douglas's thing, to build a good offensive line. They're not disciplined, and I thought that was Saleh's thing. I mean, the defense is playing decent.
For as bad as they were last year, and they were really, really bad last year, there's no way you can tell me at week 3 right now, currently, as we stand, they are a better team this year than they were last year. And you know what makes me even more sickening? And I told the two of you at the beginning of the year and at the end of last year and everything else. I look at Carolina play, and Sam Darnold is just putting the ball wherever he wants to. He's not turning the football over. He's throwing for 300 plus yards a game, and he's got a 3-0 record. And yes, you can tell me that the defense is great and the defense is play.
It's not a fair comparison. They had a good team last year. They were like 7-9, I think. Like, they weren't bad.
But they weren't great.
Man, I want to believe in Joe Douglas so bad, but they have not had a good general manager since Bill Parcells. So
I believe in Joe Douglas, but you know what? His 2 drafts have not worked out well. If you mean to tell me that your second round draft pick in last year's draft, which was super heavy loaded in wide receivers, your second round pick who slipped to you in the second round, who should have gone in the first, can't even see the field.
Well, you know what the Jets are proving? That it's a myth that you could just build through the draft, because you can't have a team full of rookies with potential and win. You need some veterans with experience. One of the weeks last year, I think it was week 4 or 5. I was like, I got to switch rooting for a different team and root for the Chargers or the Rams. I mean, I didn't really do it. I can't bring myself to stop rooting for the Jets, but the Chargers have built around Herbert real nice. And I mean, the Rams had a core and they brought in one player and it made a huge difference. Let's talk pretenders, contenders. I think both those teams are contenders. I think that the Jets and Giants are pretenders. They're done. Is there any 0-3 team that you actually think will rebound to make the playoffs?
No.
No. What about a 3-0 team that's not going to make the playoffs? That's probably an easier pick. I mean, everyone's poking.
The only one that I can think of are the Raiders.
You could also throw Denver in there because Denver. But look who they played.
I'm skeptical of the Ravens because they are just inching by on victories against teams they probably should be putting away.
They were lucky to win last week against the Lions. The Lions outplayed them, and if it wasn't for Tucker's golden leg, my boss is a diehard Lions fan, and I told him today, I said, literally, it goes to like a minuscule of an inch, right? If that ball hits the crossbar, any other angle, it kicks backwards and it doesn't go in. So let me, because you guys obviously played, competitive football. I did not.
Yeah.
Competitive is questionable, but yes.
25 years ago.
Be it as it may, I remember those glory days. These gloves, you can literally catch anything with these gloves. You can catch a speeding bullet with these gloves. You mean to tell me that all these wide receivers that have gloves on, they can't catch a football?
Well, the only reason you don't catch the ball is just 2. You're either worried about the hit coming from the defender, or you're thinking about how many yards you're going to get after you catch it, and you don't catch the ball.
So you're either a pussy or you're an overachiever.